Hi, this is RGOnax and we talk about things that don't matter. I was prompted to make this video after seeing all the discussion that's been going on with MindsEye and the entire disaster that is that game's release. To say that its developers and publishers fumbled this game in almost every aspect is an extreme understatement. When I first heard about this game, I was genuinely hopeful that it could actually be a true competitor to the absolute monopoly that is GTA-like games. I shouldn't even say GTA-like games because it's just GTA. Everything else is just considered a GTA clone, and I and many others thought that MindsEye might actually be a true competitor. And let me tell you, Internet Wanderer, this game has been anything but that. It has been a complete mess. There are countless other videos online going into more detail as to why this game is the way that it is, and I won't get into all of that. I want to keep this video short, but if you want a quick example of how bad they fumbled this game, Sony and PlayStation started issuing refunds to people who bought the game. Now, for those who don't know, Sony almost never does this. Do you want to know the last notable time that Sony allowed refunds to be issued? When Cyberpunk came out. Yeah, remember that complete shit show? Cyberpunk on release was so terrible that Sony actually had to break their own rules and offer refunds. And here we are 5 years later with them doing the exact same thing. Why does this keep happening? Seriously, it's becoming kind of ridiculous. I can't find exact numbers for the budget of this game, but just doing an educated guess, given that it's trying to be a GTA competitor, running on the Unreal Engine, and for all intents and purposes, the presentation of this game is actually really good. It looks phenomenal. The budget is dripping off the screen. You can see it. So it's safe to say that this game's budget is probably in the ballpark of 500 million, give or take. Probably more than 500 million if I'm being completely real. And all of that money to make not just a mediocre game, because calling this game a mediocre game is, that's being extremely generous. And honestly, this game doesn't even have the right to be called a mediocre game because it's hardly a functioning game in the first place. It's crashing so much. It is quite literally impossible. I've seen streams and gameplay of people barely being able to get out of the intro cinematic without the game just instantly crashing on them. It's been crashing on consoles, like the PlayStation, which is probably the reason why Sony started issuing these refunds in the first place. That's how bad it is. Just a month ago, people were talking about Marathon. And I don't think it's a controversial statement for me to say that I think Marathon is pretty much done. It's dead. The game's not even out yet, but all of its momentum has been completely derailed. So whenever this game comes out in like a year or two, assuming it doesn't get canceled, it's gonna be dead on arrival. And you know that Marathon had a lot of money that went into it. Bungie pretty much ignored all their other projects and games in order to work on Marathon. And all that work for nothing, because this game it's not gonna do anything. It's gonna get canned, or if it does come out, people won't care. I'm telling you, man, the era of Concord level game disasters is upon us. When I say Concord level disasters, I'm not talking about your standard video game failures, okay? Standard video game failures would be like Redfall, Marvel's Avengers, Anthem, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That's your stock standard video game failure. That's fine. Those were bad, but not this bad. Concord level disasters are where the game company puts so much effort, astronomical levels of effort, to get nothing, to get zip. It's only been about a year since Concord, and we've already had two other candidates for the Concord level disaster trophy. That is Marathon and MindsEye. When I was trying to draft this script, I actually categorized a few other games, so I just want to get them off the list real quick. I wrote under video game scams, so these aren't really failures because they were never really designed to succeed in the first place. I put here The Day Before, which, sure, I think the vast majority of people will agree with that. But I also put Star Citizen. I hope to God that none of the people who watch my content are Star Citizen supporters, because if you are, what are you doing? You can give the money to me instead, man. Come on. I also wrote another category here that are video game disappointments. So not full-on failures, but just, they didn't live up to expectations, or they were just aggressively mediocre or subpar. I wrote here Dragon Age Veilguard, Skull and Bones, Halo Infinite, and Destiny 2. I don't know about those last two. I guess if you're a Halo fan or a Destiny fan, if you want to put those under failure, I'll understand. I don't really have any investment in those last two games. But yeah, with MindsEye, it is it is really amazing how bad that this game is becoming. It also doesn't help that when they were advertising and marketing this game, they kept trying to bring up the fact that it had people who worked on GTA working on this game. And honestly, game companies should really stop doing that. Stop advertising that the devs in your current game are from older studios, because that invites comparison. And you better hope to God that whatever the game that you're working on is better than the old one. Need I remind you what happened with Back 4 Blood? Those guys could not help themselves constantly bringing up Left 4 Dead, and guess what? When the game came out, comparisons were made. People were gonna compare the games regardless, but when you add the game's name to the trailers, you're just asking for it at that point. And when they did the same thing here with MindsEye, yeah, they got eviscerated. I also find it rather funny that the lead developers for MindsEye legitimately think that Rockstar is sabotaging their game. Listen, man, it's admirable that you, as a relatively new company, is trying to take on the corporate giant that is Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar, especially as a smaller studio. But listen, if Rockstar wanted to bury your game, it would be buried, okay? MindsEye is small fry compared to Rockstar in GTA 6. Rockstar is quite literally too big to care about MindsEye. Saying that Rockstar is responsible for all the negativity that's been happening with their game's release, like all these comments and content creators expressing doubt with the game, you think Rockstar is responsible for that? Hell no. That's like saying if MindsEye was a local mom and pop's restaurant and it gets shut down due to a pest infestation, and then the owners would blame McDonald's for apparently buying all of these rats and roaches that somehow ended up in their restaurant. You know, it just doesn't make sense. And while I'm on the topic of my incoherent ramblings, I also predict that Splitgate's fate is already kind of sealed. You know, they had that really bad presentation during the Summer Games Fest, which led to more and more people just questioning the game in general. I haven't played it, I really should. As a concept, I like Splitgate. I played Splitgate 1 quite a bit, and I enjoyed it, but my god, this game's release, I guess you could call it, is very tone deaf. I also predict that Borderlands 4 and Outer Worlds 2 will, at best, be very mediocre, and be shamed into oblivion for even considering being $80. Well, I shouldn't even say considering, because apparently Outer Worlds 2 is already going to be $80, so thank you, Microsoft. Sorry if this video is very messy, because it is. I was very bored at work and I didn't have a notebook or a piece of paper to write on, so I literally tore a flap off a box and wrote my notes on there. So yeah. What do you think, Internet Wanderer? Do you think we can expect more Concord level disasters in the future? Because I think that these things are going to become more and more common. I mean, shit, from the release of Concord to now, it's only been about a year, and we've already experienced 3 Concord level disasters, at least in my opinion. These things are speeding up, and I think in the coming years, or maybe even months, we can expect more of these wonderful, wonderful game releases to come by and just completely faceplant. And it's also just kind of sad because whenever massive games like this fail, it paints a bad picture for the gaming industry. It shows that these big games are coming out and nobody's playing them. And then guess what? Out-of-touch suits are just gonna think, oh, gamers don't want a game, so we're not gonna make games anymore. When they don't realize that they are the problem who are extremely out of touch making games that we don't even want to play. Or even worse, making games that we want to play and then fucking them up. I want to end this video with a quote that I made up earlier at work. Are all of these videos and posts about MindsEye or even Marathon or even Concord, are they substantiated? Are these just opinions of random people on the internet? Are all of these just anecdotes of people with their experiences with these bad games? Maybe they are. Maybe that's just what they are. Maybe they are all anecdotes. The plural of anecdote is not fact, but a lot of anecdotes does paint a picture, and this picture ain't looking good for the gaming industry. Thanks for watching, Internet Wanderer. Sorry about the nonsensical video. Do the YouTube things.